Welcome to Cannaflix. The show's going to be started very shortly. Grab your buds, grab your drinks. We got one hell of a guest lined up for you guys. If you like soil, then we've got a guest for you. We'll be starting very shortly, guys. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cannaflix. I'm Grower Joe. I'm the host over here. This show's brought to you by Fast Bud Genetics. And make sure, guys, if you're just getting here, make sure you put in hashtag FastBuds giveaway, man. You have a chance to win some beans today, guys. We got a bean lottery. You have a chance to win some autoflower beans here from Fast Bud Genetics, man. And we've been growing a lot of those over here in the basement. But today's not about what's going on in my basement. It's what's going on in your soil. And we've got an unbelievable guest lined up for you, man. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Cannaflix, the Soil King. What's going on, brother? How you making out, Patrick?
Man, you know, it's another beautiful Sunday, right?
100%, man.
Sitting in this rainy state of Arizona right now. That's, yeah. And
is that where you're from, man?
Good.
Are you from Arizona?
No, I'm from Northern California. I'm a hillbilly hippie from Northern California up in the mountains.
We're having a bit of technical difficulty here on our end. We can't seem to see your screen here, but one sec. Let's see what we can do here real quick. Let's see if we can get this fixed as we're talking. So normally you're from California. That's what you said, correct?
Yeah, I travel a lot, so I'm rooted up in. You know, I hate to say all of California because you know where I come from is different than the rest of California. So I just like, you know, and yeah, and so I don't even know why I said that, but some people will get it, some people won't.
Oh, that's like just a California thing, eh?
Yeah, it's a California thing. You know, there's a last of a dying breed.
100%, man. You guys are this weird before your time, man. Like, you guys were doing things that I'm doing now. Like, I'm creating content in the cannabis industry, but you guys were doing it before it was even a fucking thing, man. Like, you guys were back in the fields like gorillas up there, man, planting weed, man. And how long you been doing this for, Pat? How long you been in this cannabis game, man?
I mean, off and on, but my first time in handcuffs was growing weed in a pine tree at the age of 11. The second time was the same pine tree, same snitch, or probably different handcuffs, but same officer a year later, right? It's so funny. So, you know, I always like to start off is there's no segregation in agriculture. I'll repeat that for those that need to hear it because all of us need to hear it. There's no segregation in agriculture. A plant can offer benefits no matter what. So whatever you're growing out there, man, my hat's off to you. Keep it up. I love giant pumpkins. I love tomatoes. I love flowers. I love sunflowers. You know, I love tropical and I love fucking cannabis. So cultivation 101, here we go.
100%, man. A lot of people are actually asking to get you on here. And me personally, man, I mean, I haven't known really any better, man. I didn't know that this made a difference, man. I'm coming in from being a pot smoker, man, and then it becoming legal here in Canada. So I went with, I thought was like the least resistance, and I went with liquid nutrients, man, and I'm using a Pro Mix medium over here. And then people start telling me, like, man, do you know what you're putting in your body? Do you know what you're doing here? And I honestly had no fucking idea, man. So that's why I wanted to get you on here. Like, as a beginner, man, I'm looking at going organic. I'm looking at building a soil. I'm looking at building something that's regenerative and that's good for me and that I can consume on a regular basis and not be scared, man. Like, where do I start, brother? Where do I get this? Where do I start going?
Let me ask you a question, right? And my question to you would be, you know, when you go to the grocery store, right, do you ever go to the organic section? And do you look at the product, or does it mean something to you to go to the organic section and buy some good tomatoes or carrots or anything like that? Do you do that?
100% I do. And I actually go to like my local farmer's market and I'll buy grass-fed beef and I enjoy it because I feel like there's a flavor difference there, man. Like I'm getting a flavor difference.
Let me ask you this question. Why wouldn't you treat your cannabis the same way?
To be honest with you, I want to now, but when I first started, I didn't even really think that it was something, right? Like when I thought of that biology that's below that surface, man, below the surface, I panic, man. And people talk about microbial life and all these things that are living in the soil. And to me, that is on a different planet, man. It doesn't come as simple to you that's been playing in dirt and turning it into soil for years, man.
You ever hear? When you're sick, the doctor doesn't want to give you antibiotics. They don't want to get you hooked on antibiotics. You know the reason behind that?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, they're not good for you. I mean, they can't be, right? We should obviously be fixing ourselves naturally here if we can.
So what they give you antibiotics so that you can kill the infections and the bad pathogens in your body, the things that are the bad colonies of bacteria. And so with doing a lot of antibiotics, so I'm gonna relate everything to your human biome to soil because we're exactly the same. So with our bodies, you don't want to take too many of those antibiotics because it wipes out all the colonies of bacteria, good and bad. And your body needs you need the good bacteria and fungal in your body in order to have its own pharmacy, its own hospital, and take care of its own healthy needs. And when we lack that, that's what happens. It's so easy for bad pathogens and bad bacteria to cultivate and win a war against the good bacteria if we're not careful. So when you take antibiotics, it wipes out all of it. And the first thing that wants to come back in your body always is a bad bacteria. So good bacteria can feed off bad bacteria, and it's a battle, man. It's warriorism, under the soil in your body. So the concept is exactly the same.
Now, one question that I had, man, is like so many people talk so much bullshit in the growing community, man, and there's so many new growers like me that they figured out a way that works and they just keep doing it that way. And typically people are telling me that if I go organic, then I'm going to get a different flavor as well. Am I going to get a more pure flavor in those terpenes? Is it going to taste different to me?
So, I mean, the tech is proven right here. Actually, this is one of my companies, Rosin Tech, right? We won first place with Luma Farms in the Emerald Cup this last year. First, fourth, fifth. And now we, in the second place was a good friend of mine up in Humboldt. And our terpene profiles are off the charts, grown under the sun, in controlled environments that utilizes UV light and different things with organics. So absolutely, that produces the best compounds, the best terpenes, the best full entourage effects when you're smoking it as well. It's just not a THC. A high THC means absolutely nothing to me. In fact, I've proven that tech too. I own two manufacturing facilities, a southern one and a northern one, up in Northern California and down in Torrance, LA. And I took all of our employees at one point because everybody was talking about when distillate and was coming out back in 2018, and everybody's talking about solvent extraction versus solventless extraction. So I did a test. I gave pure, 98%. It was 97% distillate on dabs to my employees, and they were all, shocked. They didn't want to do it because they were so in fear it was going to get them so high. And then I had I had them do pure terpenes with no THC whatsoever in it. And the reason why I did that is because of the effects. In our minds, we think the pure THC is going to wreck us. It's going to destroy us. It's going to put us out and under. When in fact, it's the compounds and the terpenes that give you that highness, the boom, right, to the bang. It isn't the THC level. It's the entourage of all of it together that plays the part. So all of it. So anyways, the outcome was they took it and they're like, I'm not as high as I thought I would be. Yeah, well, that isn't it. I said, okay, now hit these terpenes. So we dabbed the terpenes and they were fucked up for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then they came right back out of it quick. It was done. And that was, so if you guys are out there and you got some real terpenes, just dab some terpenes and see how that feels. Like totally different than a THC.
100%, man. I find it funny too. Like a lot of guys that go into these cannabis dispos to buy. My wife works at our local dispo, and everybody walks in and I go, I want the cheapest, highest THC. And my wife's one of those people like you. She pushes the terpene profiles and what are you looking for? What have you tried before? And to find that specific terpene that's going to work for you. But she brought home some 14% THC flower here, man, and we puffed it here in the last few nights. I've been ripped, man. I've been ripped.
Yes,
And,
it
and
does.
there's certain terpenes that are just going to explode and certain ones that aren't going to work for you. And they're all going to be different for each individual, right?
And it's the combination of terpenes, right? The combination of terpenes is you get totally different feelings. A lot of times you can get that really high up immediately, and then it rolls off longevity. You'll get some that's spiky, right? You get a little jittery. And
Yeah,
so,
those are the ones I like, man.
terpenes
I like getting a bit jittery, man. I like getting a bit high. I'm smoking on some Oreo Big Stuff right now, and it's one of those ones that gets you a bit jittery. It makes me do work around the house, right?
Well,
Man,
that's what
I've been checking out.
good day high.
Go ahead, sorry.
Good day high. There you go. Right.
Yeah, man.
Gets
Those
the
are my
stuff done.
Sunday. Those are my
Done.
Sunday highs, man. I'm having a crazy week over here. I'm getting some pretty cool guests on, man. Like you. I talked to Tommy Chong here recently, Kyle Cushman, and a lot of you guys.
My great friends, man. Me and Tommy, I got stories with me and Tommy. I'm just gonna go right. Me and Tommy, we went to a restaurant, and we went to go eat. It was morning. It was about 10, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock in the morning. And we were at one of the cups, and it was at the Emerald Cup. We're at a hotel. And him and I went down in to have breakfast, and it was so funny. I had my doobies sitting on where we were eating, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I knew exactly what he was thinking. He goes, "You want to?" I'm like, "Oh fuck yeah!" I picked it up, I lit it, and started smoking. Where everybody in the whole restaurant is sitting there, we just started smoking, and because it was Tommy Chong, nobody knew what to say. Right? It was like the managers walking, pacing back and forth around us. Nobody knew what to say. What are they going to say? Don't smoke in there? Of course, if you let them in the door, you're expected to smoke. And so they were worried about the fire sprinklers going off at breakfast, and it was funny. And they had a whole area roped off for us when we went in there. And we did a big event. We did a few events, done some stuff together in collaborations, different things, and that was one we spent the weekend together. He was invited in my booth, and we shared a lot of fun times together in that event. But that was a good Tommy story. And then Kyle and I go way back. Kyle and I go way back from the Strawberry Cough days when he came out. He lived in Northern California too, and when he was just coming out with his vegan line out there. So Kyle's a great friend of mine as well.
So cool, eh? Like this community, man, it's so weird. There's guys that are like pushing back against one another, and then there's guys like you, man, that are bringing people into this whole community, man. And that's what I'm trying to do too. Being so new, man, I just think it's so cool that I can reach out to a buddy and say, hey, man, my dehumidifier just broke. Can I borrow one? Yeah, I'll have it over here. Or you need a fan? No problem, man. I got extra ones here. Oh, you need an ounce to get you by? Absolutely, man. And I thought it would be like combative, and there are those guys out there, but it's nice to see guys like you that have been doing this for a fucking long time. I mean, look at the size of the beard, guys. He's been growing that for as long as he's been growing cannabis, man, over there.
Hey, pre-COVID, I just want to throw that in there for all you guys that grew it out of COVID. This has been with me forever.
That's a fucking beast, man. It's a beast, buddy. I don't think you can get rid of it now, man. I think it's like
get rid of it.
It's your look, right?
Yeah.
Man, I love that. I was watching one of your podcasts here a little while ago, man. You said something cool on there, but then the guy kind of changed the subject on you, and they didn't get to get your answer. But the question was, when does dirt become soil?
Yeah, this is a great. Soil's alive, dirt's dead. Like that's a fact. So you walking out and there's nothing growing out on a dusty field, or you're out. I mean, it's just dead dirt. The dirt becomes living as soon as it's added with some biology. Really, is what it is when biology kind of hits it and it starts reproducing its colonies and starts making its own compost out of it, and you get a fungal environment started on it and starts converting into soil. And so the soil, and that's what I mean about living. Soil's alive, right? That's when the soil's alive, and then some dirt's just dead. It won't grow anything. But you could take any dirt. You'll find a shit ton of mineral content in dirt, though. But you won't find a lot of living organisms. But you can convert that. Definitely, you 100%. Make dirt living.
We got a lot of people in the chat that are growing organic, and that's why this conversation's been pushed, because they wanted to get you on here, because I'm thinking about doing it, like I said in the get-go. So can I run organics in my Pro Mix HP that I'm using now, or should I start with a different base, or what do you recommend, man?
So your Pro Mix is an inert form. meaning it's a peat moss base, and inert means dead, right? So when cultivation, living versus non-living or inert, with the difference between organic cultivation and non-organic cultivation is living, making it, there's a living source in there. So non-organic, where your type is what you're talking about, is you're creating that microbiome that's in our gut. You're taking care of your plants. The plant is relying on you to be the pharmacy, to be the hospital, to know what's going on. And without you, it's dead. When you convert, which you can convert your pro mix, right, by start adding living organisms and start adding, good fish emulsion and different things into it, you can convert that into a living soil. The structures there. It doesn't. A lot of people will use, non-organic with organic, and it can get the job done, but not at the level. It's like pouring salt on a slug. Once you start getting those microbes really active in there, you got to remember that they're doing the job what the bottle nutrient companies designed you to do. Now they've taken over what Mother Nature has designed us to do, right? And that's just unpeeling that onion. So yes, the answer is yes. You can create that. First you're going to want to get rid of that soil you've been using, like normally. Like, that's the other thing I just don't understand, is why keep buying Pro Mix and throwing it out.
Oh, I don't fucking want to. That's the thing, man. That's why I'm
buy one bag of soil, you buy one bale of Pro Mix and use it 10 plus times. Buy one bag of Big Root soil, use it 100 times. Put me the fuck out of business, right? That's what I want the world to do. I want enough is enough.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking to do, man. So, like, over on your platforms, on your website, do you have, like, is there such thing as a starter kit, or is there a way to get a starter kit? Because every time I talk to an organic grower, okay, and you're doing it too here. Every time I talk to one, they kind of almost confuse me, because everything is organic to you guys. Everything has a living organism.
No, not even close.
What I mean by that? What I mean by this?
99% of the shit out there that people say is organic is not organic to me.
What I mean by this is you could basically tell me how to take bananas. You could put oranges. You could put fucking worm castings. You put all your stuff you're keeping from your house, and you can turn that into something magical for me, right?
You can do a lot of that, but again, you got to be careful with it, because again, if it's not done right, if you're doing your own kombucha style fermentations, people fuck up all the time. Just because you made a fermented tea extract or a fermented tea doesn't mean it's not full of bad pathogens that you're going to completely destroy your plant with either. So you have to be careful. The easy way to answer your question is, this year has been such a hard year. We had a complete starter kit for 6 plants, 4 plants, and 2 plants coming out. It's been a shit show of an industry this year. So we pulled back and are just trying to bootstrap it through until next year. But if you guys follow me, ask me any questions on Instagram, I spend hours just answering and helping questions, because I feel like that's a steward of the planet. My purpose, is to help others, because all this information was freely given to me. I didn't learn it out of a book. I didn't learn it out of a classroom. I learned it out of being an amateur naturalist, right? Like Darwin was an amateur naturalist. Christopher Columbus, in the discovery phase, right? Nobody taught them. You had to apply it yourself and fuck up by learning. And what I can tell you with organics is, just like bottle nutrients, we overcomplicate things. You don't need it to be it doesn't need to be that complicated. You don't have to keep fixing a problem. You just have to let the plant grow. You grow the soil and let the soil produce a plant.
Yeah, so I guess these starter kits are going to come with like a base soil, additives, and then it's just add water and away you go. Is that kind of how it works, Pat?
Great questions. Here's the question I get all the time: is it a water only? Can I add water all the way through the end? Okay, so there's no soil that can answer that question. I don't care if it's a water only, living soil, super soil. No question can answer that, because it depends on what's in that soil. Meaning, if you had a 3-gallon pot or a 5-gallon pot and you're running it in your room, you're going to run out of food source. I don't care what what soil it is, water only, you're gonna have to add something. Now, if you what in my successful indoor is always beds now, but my other indoor success is always I started with a 1 gallon or a 3 gallon in veg, straight into soil. Right, I use castings and healthy castings. We can get deeper into that because there's so much bad sourced products out there, and castings is one of them. And so I will transplant that 1 gallon after 30 days, or the 3 gallon, depending on what it is, right into a 10 gallon pot of soil. And here's what we forget. A lot of times you have a 3 gallon pot. Let's say if we got 6 plants or 60 plants, I don't care, 6,000 plants, and they're in 3 or 5 gallon pots. That root zone during veg is going to fill up that whole 3 gallons.
Yeah.
It's going to fill up that whole 3 gallons. Now you got a plant going into bloom and the roots can't grow. So the roots at the end of a healthy harvest, there's more root in a pot, should be, in a healthy harvest than plant tissue on top of the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so we constrict it, and therefore, since it's in a 3 gallon or 5 gallon, there's no room for root growth, and it's getting root rot. We have to keep adding these bottled nutrients because systemically we got to feed that shit, and keep it going. The roots grow more in bloom than they do in veg.
Yeah.
So when you give it that other root zone, those roots just expand, and then right in the last few weeks, it just takes everything and just smashes it right up into the plant. So we get this concept of water only soil, and there's no such thing as really water only soil. It's just not. You have to add something. You want to keep it, and then to add to a water only soil or living soil or super soil correctly is you want to always think about adding fungal and biology. That fungal and biology. Let's say you got some top dress. Like I always recommend Mr. B's Green Trees. So Mr. B's Green Trees it's got 17 different types of fertilizers and minerals in it. And so if you ever made a tea out of it or soaked it or saturated it, you'd end up with probably at least, let's just relatively 40 to 60% would be grainy at the bottom. When you end up tossing it out. Well, that grain is food source. Let's remember that. So when you have biology in your soil, that biology is eating those leftover mineral sandy, right? The guanos, everything that's left over in there, and it's making it sustainable. It's making it uptakeable by the plant. Therefore, you're going to end up utilizing and using a lot less nutrients because the biology is converting all the leftover everything. It eats peat moss, it converts. It eats, if there's redwood in there, it converts. Minerals, it converts. Guanos and everything in there. So the utilization of having to use fertilizers is a lot less, and the more colonies of bacteria that you produce and get and build up in your soil, and the more fungal. The fungal part is just the fungal's beautiful. The biology, the microbes will convert. The fungal is a communication between the biology and the root of the plant. And so the plant will say, hey, I'm low on phosphorus today. I need some phosphorus. So fungal's talking to the biology, and the biology is immediately converting that phosphorus and giving it to the fungal, and the fungal's taking it right down the line and feeding it up to that root immediately. And that's how Mother Nature grew these forests. That's how they grew the tropics. I mean, that's how it's done, just like that. We ruin it by destroying. We want to take the place of the fungal. We want to take the place of the bacteria, and man just isn't fucking smart enough.
I'm basically what I'm doing, man, is I'm fucking feeding fast food to my fucking plants, man. I'm feeding my plants
the McDonald's
food.
Diet, right?
Yeah, like they're getting McDoubles. They're getting McDoubles, man, and then your girls are eating fucking chicken and potatoes and corn and peas and, like, you know what I mean? And every now and then you give them a little bit of gravy is what I'm picking up.
Yeah, and so like I have soils that are year 12. I have fields that I have indoor that are many years old, and the soil every run is better. And guess what? I don't throw my soil away. So imagine the money that I'm saving, and I'm utilizing less food source food every cycle. Every time I run it, it gets better and better and better. And I don't have to I don't have to throw out the soil and recondition it. Now, if you're an organic cultivator and you're just throwing everything on top of it, and you're not really growing the soil, then you're going to have a problem on, your next run and next run. But
What do you mean by that? You mean by that the guys that amend their soil originally and then they're top dressing with an
yeah, I
organic
just
top
think
dress?
that as us humans, including me being a fucking addict, right? Everything more is better on everything. So we have a tendency to listen to all social media and listen to all our buddies, and they're saying, "Yeah, put this on the plant. Yeah, put that on the plant." And just remember, there's like things like Omri. Omri is 80% organic at best. There's a reason why it's only 80 is because they wouldn't have a program and they wouldn't be able to charge the fees to the program if they didn't if they had 100% organic. But they exclude a lot of known toxicities in order to get their certifications to be able to sell them. So big agriculture can say, yeah, this is organic, it's Omri certified. So I mean, if we add too much. Another big thing is we see a lot of people in the regenerative type agriculture, indoor greenhouse and outdoor, going to the farm feed store and buying what they considered organic straw, and they're putting it over their plants. Organic straw is grown all across the world, and it's used with severe, horrible herbicides. And those herbicides will only allow straw to grow, but it kills any other plants inside the straw fields or alfalfa fields. Any straw-like plant grows and doesn't harm it, but any other plant like a cannabis or potato kind of plant or anything, it'll stunt that plant. So now you've taken that organic straw and you're using it as a cover crop for your plants, for your beds. And now you're feeding that herbicide into your root zone, and now you're stunning your plants. So now that soil is tainted forever. Okay, so these are things. Sourcing with organic sourcing is the key, and knowing your farmer, knowing where you're getting stuff from, or producing it yourself, as much as you can produce systemically is the way to go. I use grass clippings. I use a lot of different stuff on my own grass, but not the neighbor's grass. It's throwing some crappy products on it.
So when you're doing stuff like that, like using your own grass clippings and things like that, are you running into pests at all when you're doing that, Pat, or is that all just part of this biology down bottom? Like it all just kind of mends together.
So that's the hard point for people to cross over to organic. So organic it's good bugs, bad bugs, right? That's the next fight. And with a lot of bottle nutrients are the way inert soils. You don't want any inert means dead.
Yeah.
So inert soil is you don't want any biology in there. You don't want any bugs in your room whatsoever. But you have good bugs that that produce that. You have good bugs that can eradicate the bad bugs. We use things that are bioinsecticides, and those bioinsecticides will take care of any mites, any subterranean born soil bug, and it doesn't harm any of the good stuff. Blacksmith Bioscience, if you guys want to look that up, look up Blacksmith Bioscience and read about their products. I've been working with them for many, many years, and they have a product called No Fly, right? It's perfect for organic cultivation, and it takes all your whiteflies right out, but you still got a lot of good. You might have, there's good spiders and there's bad spiders. There's bad spider mites. There's good spiders that eradicate a lot of it. So knowledge is bliss out there. But just like Swami always preaches, if you go out into a farm or you go somewhere and you see absolutely no hole in a leaf, something's wrong. You want to walk into a cultivation, you want to see a bug hole here and there. Then it's active.
Right? Well, especially if you see that life, right? Then you know it's there, you know how to combat it. And you can freshen it up and make sure it's good.
Like right here. I don't know if you can see all this. I got my scope. You see it right back in there?
Yep.
I got my whole media set up. I do all my stuff, but I scope everything. I scope their fucking hot dog. You should be shocked what the fuck you're eating when you're eating a hot dog. Oh my God, I'll never eat a hot dog or sausage again. I mean, you never think about the things that you
that's such a stoner thing to do, Pat. Pat's over here slicing up hot dogs and looking underneath. That probably got like fucking black shit in it and everything, man. It's probably messed up.
It's got dead bugs. It's got loaded of worms, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, man, that just ruins a hot dog for me, man. I had a Costco hot dog the other day, but Costco hot dogs are even gross, man. They're marinating in that hot dog water for months on end. That's a wild thing. So you're literally taking random objects, putting them under that thing, and being like, "What the hell's in this?" That's a different way of thinking, Pat. Like it's a very unique stoner mindset,
I create a compost called Kinkashi compost, and I do about 1,200 yards a year of it, and it's so fungal and bacteria dominant, and it's the best thing I've ever made. And with that, I take in the morning, because I know what's in it because I scope it. I take a pinch of it every morning and I put it on my jaw, under my cheek, and I suck on it. And it sounds horrible, but that's everything that's good in the soil is good for your biome, right? It's probiotics on steroids.
I fucking seen you do this on a live, man. He pulls his lip out. He put in a chunk, a handful of soil, man, like he was putting in a lip of tobacco. And he's like, "You think you could do that with your soil?" I'm like, "No, I would never fucking put my soil in my mouth." So it made me start thinking, man, like one of my sponsors is actually Green Planet, and I love the guys. They're fantastic guys, but I'm honestly thinking I'm going to get away from bottled nutrients, man, and start doing an organic grow, because I did a flavor test here recently and someone sent me organic grown and bottled nutrient grown, and there's a flavor difference, man. It ties it right back. There's a flavor.
I teach that in the Ganjier program. We teach a lot of bit about it. I can take really good weed that's grown with bottles, and I can feel it in the back of my throat.
Yeah.
When I smoke it. I'm not saying I won't ever smoke it. And some things that, I'm not a guy that flushes, but when people with bottle nutrients don't flush good enough, man, it tastes like bad soap in the back of my throat. The weed could taste great, but it's that after effect, right? So we do a blind taste test, and we can tell, and we do blind taste tests, and we'll line up good organic weed and good bottle nutrient weed. And that's the blind test. So we have a lot of our students pick and pull, seeing what is what.
Man, I was kind of going through your page here over the last little bit, and your YouTube channel is pretty cool, man. If you guys check that out, guys, over there, you get a bunch of different stuff, man. You get some cup footage, you get some growing footage, you get some soil footage, but there's also, I like the day in the lives, man. I was watching a lot of your day in the lives. I think it's super cool, man, because like you've been doing this for a fucking long time, and you've got this really unique growing method where everything is super clean, man. Like I was looking at one of your farms and there's like wood chippings on the ground, man. Like is that to keep it clean, or is it like, what's the process for that? What are these wood chippings?
That's just to jump into that farm a little bit, when on that, where you're looking at, that was 2016, I think, on that one, 15. And then, but that was when I first came out of the closet through transparency and said, "Fuck you guys, I'm going to show you how to grow organics." Because, we could talk a good game and our plants are great and I grow the best weed and I don't have any problems. And, I'm growing 9-pound plants on a consistent level. But you talk is cheap until you put it in practice. So I was in Sonoma County, California with that farm. And that farm was the biggest at this time in Sonoma County. I had every sheriff in that county wanted to arrest me and put me in jail. And then I had every cartel wanting to, destroy me on that one as well. And they were flying helicopters over me every day. And I had 72,000 patients signed up underneath my collective in dispensaries back then. And so I went to Jill Radish was the prosecuting attorney for cannabis. And so I went to her and I had a meeting and I said, "Hey, look, here's the deal. I have an open door policy. You can come in anytime, save the gas, save the helicopter. You guys, I'll give you a tour of the farm." I'm way over my numbers, right? I think we were allowed back then next to nothing in plants. I was over federal guidelines and everything. And so we had and I told her I'm not the small hanging fruit. Like I showed her 72,000 patients signed up under it, had 3 badass attorneys on me. I said, "I hope you guys come in and harvest everything." And she looked at me crazy. I said, "Yeah, because I'm going to accelerate my numbers of harvest, increase them dramatically. I'm not going to have to pay the labor to harvest. I'm not going to have to store it, and I'm not going to have to sell any of it. You're going to pay me all that." So then it all stopped. I had no police, no whatsoever. Still, the cops at the stores were harassing me. They're saying they're going to get me. And then a few weeks before harvest, I don't have guns on site. That's another story. I ended up in a gunfight and chased someone 3 miles and found following a pool of blood. And I realized I'm not a responsible farmer or responsible gun owner. So I quit that. I'm responsible now. I have guns now, but in cultivation, I didn't want to. I said if I have to protect the plant and almost take somebody's life and not think of what's going to happen. What do you do when you shoot someone? You get the backhoe out and bury them. Do you kill all your farm workers that are your homeboys on site in case they might say anything? These are things you never think of, right? So I said, I was like, I'm not a responsible farm, no weapons on site, and then the cartel was going to come raid me. They were going to come take all my shit. And
Fuck,
on
man.
that same farm I showed that you were talking about, and the police were going to raid me at harvest too. So I went out and I hired a retired sheriff that was trying to be not a bounty hunter, but one of those, have his own outside career.
Oh yeah, fuck, private investigator or something.
Private investigator. So I hired him sight unseen, and I told him to show up, and I gave him killer fucking money. And I said, just make sure you're packing, and you can be my security on site for the rest of the time. This guy came in, looked at me, told me, you got the biggest balls of steel. He goes, not only have you turned all my fucking homies that hate you, your best friend, and going to protect me because I'm in here, that means they're protecting you. They also heard that you were going to get taken out by the cartel. So now that I'm in here, your whole property is going to be surrounded by police protecting you instead of taking you out. And so that was a turning point in my life. But that is to go back to that farm. That farm was built on transparency because I wanted to show people how you can grow organically outside and how you can produce high yields and high quality, and how do you keep the pest at prey, keep them away from you, always be clean, like you were saying with the wood chips. And then I do companion planting with like corn, a lot of different types of melons and pumpkins all around the perimeter outside of my patches, because bugs don't like cannabis. They like water. And so they come into your patch because everything else is fucked up. They don't even like it. It's just something to eat to get some nourishment. So if you give them better tasting product, they ain't going to want your cannabis. They're going to want everything on the outside of it. So cleanliness is always the most important. And when you're going to do something, do it fucking right. Like, have some pride and dignity in it, and talk about it. How many years later, 7, 8 years later, you bring up that site. Why did I do that? Because I just wanted to prove a point of how to do something. If you're going to do it, be the best you can possibly be at doing it.
It's pretty fucking something, guys. You should check it out. And you've got so much spacing in between them. And like a lot of guys, like, they're just going for yield, man. They're going for fucking monster fucking flowers. They don't really care about them too much. But you had monster flowers and you fucking cared about them, man.
Because you got to look at the sun is moving constantly. And when people put their pots too close together, you're growing what I call redwood trees with pineapples. When you hit that level, when you're growing massive plants, it was coined redwood trees with pineapples years before that farm. Is we had people that were going by one of my patches on a place called River Road up in the hills. But anyways, the plants were so fucking big, my neighbors didn't even know they were cannabis plants because they thought cannabis plants were small. So someone said, hey, because he grows redwood trees with pineapples, right? So that was anyway. So when you're growing big plants, the sun's moving constantly and you need a lot of airflow. So you space them out. The more you space them out, the more yield you'll get, because more of that UV light and light will touch other aspects of the plant as it goes into other areas of it. So you can grow with a lot less numbers and get a lot bigger yields done properly.
Speaking of numbers, man, 72,000, 74,000, is that what you said for patients?
72,000 patients at that time.
How the fuck do you do that at that time, man? Like that was new age, man. Like that was a pretty cool opportunity for you to like jump into, you know what I mean? Like other guys were, for lack of a better word, drug dealers, man, and you were a legal cannabis producer, man. Like how did that fucking happen?
I had San Francisco. We had a few dispensaries. One was Purple Heart and a few other ones. And so every time a patient came in, we gave them a discount if we signed them up as me being their, cultivator, medicinal cultivator. So when they sign up, then I got that patient underneath my collective, and then they got collective discounts to buy my product. And so that was pre Prop 64 legalization of California. That's how we ran it. We have, I've done almost just under 7 years of my life behind bars as well, and so I paid my price, and I've done everything, and you just get smarter and better. Yeah, and you don't give up. If you have a passion, you have a dream. Everybody's going to tell you there's no goal line with your passion and your dream. All your family's going to tell you that. All the people around you are going to tell you crazy. You need to go back like the rest of society, get in 9 to 5. But just believe in yourself, man. Don't listen to what other people say, and do your fucking thing and do it right. If you're going to do it right.
When, like, so you obviously went to jail, man. You got arrested. Now you're at this point, man. Like, where do you see the light at the end of the tunnel now? Like, because, like, we're coming into this new age, man, and you're fucking ahead of the game, man. You've been doing this for so long. You've made so many fucking mistakes. You're at a level where, like, you're finally going to reap the benefits of all the hard work and labor and fucking being behind bars and everything, man. Or do you even see it like that? Am I just seeing it totally different?
I mean, I'm broken and I'm old, and that's kind of why we created the Ganjier program. Is we fought for this pioneering information to get out there. What I consider myself is I'm an outlaw turned pioneer, right? And it feels good, and I take pride in the whole outlaw days, because without that outlaw in me, I never would become a pioneer. But now we're at a day and age as we have new pioneers. The whole world is seeing cannabis as a new thing. And we fought to expose this plant as a positive message to the world for so long, and nobody listened. But now we got a lot of ears out there. We have people like you bringing, storytelling, right? I always say, without media, there's no us, right? There's no plant. There's no future in any of it. The storytellers are the one that are the real pioneers. What you're doing right now, you are the new pioneer. You're passing a message, and we're passing a baton of what things have, how it became and how it's done and how it needs to go into the future. And as we start falling off, my goal is to create a lot of new pioneers out of this one old broken pioneer here. And in reality, and I say this, and this is my education, I teach all my students, even Ricky Williams is one of my students, the great running back, right? So
he was just on here not last week, the week before.
There you go. Yeah. So he's one of my students as well. But I'm actually one of his students too. The guy's awesome. But what I always say to all my students is, you are more important to me than I am to you, because I've fought this and haven't gotten out. Like, it took me years of back-breaking efforts and activism and watching people die and families get torn apart. And we didn't get we didn't get the message out there. But the new pioneers have an opportunity right now to change the fucking world, right? So when you're doing, just you alone, you're doing media right now. You are telling the stories that need to be here. Like, you were looking at farms from me in 2015 and 16. 10 years from now, people are going to be watching this fucking episode, listening to exactly what I say, and you are fucking pioneering the new future.
That gets me so pumped up, bud. You have no idea. It gets me.
When you say you're new, you're not, man. You're part of a team. You're part of the tribe. Changing the world one plant at a time. Together we are better. We are better together is my hashtag. My mission statement is changing the world one plant at a time. I can't do it alone.
So the Ganjier, man, we talked about that a couple times. So tell us a bit more about this, because there's a lot of people in the chat that they don't even know exactly what it is.
If you go to the Ganjier, Gangier, or you can go to my Instagram, and I think it's linked there too, and you probably put it up on something on this too. So that was back years ago, 2017 or so. We were all sitting back talking about an educational platform that really told our stories of the OGs and the pioneers of the industry, and why it was so important for organics to get the same message as the rest of the world and their salty platforms. And they had all the platforms for marketing and education and paid advertising and all that. We didn't have any. So when we really wanted to share our craft and our experience in our community is of loving elders and just wonderful, loving people that, we companion plant, and it's a barter trade industry. Like, we trade fruit for weed. We trade weed for fucking honey. It was back in the day, it was monetary contributions is a lot different than a cash trade out. And so we wanted to not be lost in history. We wanted to have something we wanted people to experience what we experienced. And so the Ganja program was created. We have like Swami, Frenchie, right? Nicky T was brought in as the ice wash.
Swami's got to be the fucking coolest character ever, man.
Swami's I call him dad, right? And Nikki is his wife. That's mama. So
how old would Swami be? Like, how old would that guy be?
He's 79, turning 80 right now. He's out harvesting right now. I harvest with him. I go help him all the time, but he's the hardest worker on the farm by a long shot, man. He outworks all these kids. It's so great. 79. I think he's turning 80.
And he's from California, man? He's California, too?
Yeah. He's in Mendocino, California, right in the very heart of the Mendocino County.
He's exactly what it looks like. Like if I got high and decided like I was going to go back in time and smoke weed with the guy from that era, that's the guy I want to smoke with.
That's the guy.
Yeah, like if there's ever an opportunity where you need a guy like me somewheres on a farm, you let me know and I want to come smoke weed with you guys. You got to let me know for that. I want to smoke weed with that guy so bad. So bad.
He is. He's something else. And all of you out there know Frenchie. Frenchie passed.
Yes.
Frenchie was God, he was so inspirational to me. And he was like the father I didn't have in a way, because he used to rip my ass constantly. I'd say things that I'd get angry because people wouldn't listen to me, right? And so I would get in an argument with somebody. He would call me up and say, "That's not what we do for our community. We figure out a nicer solution. That's how you handle it. We have a lot of years ahead of us to get done. You can't be fighting," right? And so he was great that way. Who else do we have?
He was your level-headed guy, man. He kept you on your level pace.
He used to make me pull down post all the time.
So you said you were
erase comments, right?
So were you like if you were to look back as you was like a teenager turning into your 20s, 30s, man, were you this? I picture you being this wild dude, man, and now I feel like you're this you're calming out, man, almost like this really cool creature of the land, almost, man. Is that how you feel it too, or?
I just, I'm a 5th generation Johnny Appleseed. I have my purpose. My purpose is just to leave something good behind when I pass, right? Johnny Appleseed, it was funny, before I found out my loins were even all the way back to Johnny, which is Chapman is his real name. But before I found out, somebody asked me, and I remember this clearly, if you were going to be like, if anybody in history, to be like, if you had to choose one person, everybody in the room was like, Jesus. Most people say, I wanted to be Jesus, right? Or I want to be Gandhi, or I want to be this person. And everybody laughed at me because I wanted to be Johnny Appleseed, right? And the reason why I said that is because his monetary contribution was to leave joy in the hearts of every child forever. And that's what he left behind. Right? What better monetary contributions you want to leave behind instead of some joy to children? Fuck the adults, fuck it all. Who gives a fuck, right? Jesus is great. Sure, he walked on water. Johnny Appleseed touched every child in the world for eternity. 100%. Like he's sitting up there right now. He's probably the one on the throne.
Fucking right. Johnny's up there. Johnny's up there, and Jesus is trying to get a joint from Johnny. That's what's going on. Yeah. Johnny's up there with the weed, right? 100%, man.
And what did he do? He went 2 years, 3 years ahead of the settlers moving west from the East Coast, and he created apple farms. Those apple farms were to grow and produce alcohol because everything was tainted. Food and storage, you couldn't do anything. So if you added a couple drops of alcohol to water, it would kill any of the bad pathogens. You'd be able to drink it. You'd be able to wash your hands. So that was the whole mission, was for medicinal value. Those apples were medicinal value. My fucking food is medicinal value, right? It's like crazy how it's the same. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was going when you asked me the question before, but I ended up on that topic. And the other good thing is he didn't give a shit about money. He grew, 30,000 fucking apple plants he planted, a lot more than that. He owned himself over 30,000 acres because all he did is buy land and then planted an orchard and found a couple and said, here, you can have this farm. They're going to come. You just keep tending to these plants and you'll be able to, this is how you make alcohol. This is how you do it. And a few years down the road, you're going to have a beautiful business and a beautiful family. And then he just move on forward and do the same thing. I mean, now he's sitting at the throne.
Fuck,
right?
dude. That's what's so cool about your name too, man. Like the Soil King, what a cool fucking name, man. Like when you honed the Soil King, because it ties into your last name too, right? Patrick
Yeah,
King, man. Soil
yeah.
King. Now you got a really cool queen too, man, to the Soil King. And
She's awesome.
yeah, listen, this not only is she's beautiful and in phenomenal, incredible shape from working out, but she is a fucking ambassador for the cannabis community as well. I've been seeing her on a
Yeah.
lot of podcasts recently, man. Like this support system, man. When did you guys become this fucking dynamic duo? Because you're taking it over together now.
I know she, she came in my life about 2019. We became friends, and then, a few year, 2.5 years ago, or something like that, we ended up seeing each other. And then I was an asshole, and I told her I didn't want to see her anymore, and I realized that was a mistake. But I had to work on myself. And what we found out in the meantime is we both were really into self-help. Or both into. I just came back last weekend from a 3-day personal mastery course where I learned all about myself and how to be a better businessman, how to be a better couple, a better person in a relationship. And so we're really into health, and we're really into bettering ourselves. We used to get in arguments. We don't anymore. We talk things out because we've really learned how to communicate. Our communication skills are a lot better. But she's such an inspiration on the mental health in cannabis. She really is. She has mental health issues that she's overcame a lot in her life. And cannabis is such an asset. Again, it's clean cannabis. The cleaner it is, the better it is for you. The easier it helps you with a lot of different types of bipolar, depression. And I work a lot with the veteran community. I donate a lot of time to the veteran community as well. And I like to teach all organic cultivation. I don't care if you're growing tomatoes in your backyard or cannabis, if you're consuming it and you have, post-traumatic stress, and you have neurological issues, you got to remember where's bottled nutrients are, to me, is just like the pharmaceuticals. They're both come from the oil industry. It's a petroleum-based product. When you're pouring your nutrients on your plants, it's the leftover petroleum refined. That's what it is. So you got to think about that. And how does that these guys, veterans, are trying to get off pharmaceuticals, but then you're getting they're smoking products that aren't clean, or they have a lot of leftover residuals because they're not flushed properly, and they're getting the same symptoms. And that's bad for the plant because the plant gets blamed instead of the cultivation type, and that's not fair to the plant, right? So organics, you don't feel that. You don't get that. You get a different one, right? You get more.
It's just wild, man.
Nature.
Even like, especially like to tell me that when I'm high is almost like it's almost kind of mean, because now my mind is running and all I'm thinking is like, man, I've been fucking smoking this for so long. I've been doing this for so long. You talk about students a lot, Pat. How do you become a student? Do you have a course or like a training program or?
Well, Ganjier, we have, there's a Ganjier program you could sign up. We talk a lot about feeling the whole consumption. You'll roll up a joint, you smoke the joint, you'll feel the entourage effect. You'll feel it'll give you all the different platforms. You go through this whole thing, and you really, it makes your mind think the longevity of the high, if it's spiking, the onset, the offset, the taste, the way it's smooth or not smooth, how it's cultivated. You go through, and so the Ganjier program is a really good course. It's an online course. And then you come up to live training up into Humboldt County, and we're up there, and you get to meet us and smoke out with us, and we give you a really one-on-one opinion. Stay up there for a few days with us. That's one of them. And then in Sonoma County on the border.
Pause 1 sec. So you're telling me, how do I sign up for this? I would love to fucking come up there for a few days.
Yeah, dude, you'd be great on it.
How do I do that? How do I set this up?
You go to the website, theganjier.com.
Yeah, like we're gonna show it here. So I just go there and I sign up, do an online course, and then just book a thing, pay for all that, and get going.
Yep, the same thing Ricky Williams did.
He's a fucking cool dude, man.
He's a fucking cool dude, man.
This whole circle, like I'm starting to meet a lot of yous. I can't wait until like there's going to be a day where I'm like part of this circle. I'm already part of it on an outskirts, but I can't wait till I get to fucking mingle with you guys. And
we have a lot of Canadians on there too that are Best Buds. I know I don't know if you know that brand. There's a bunch of them all across Canada that have been taken all across. We have students from all over the world that come to that, and And then me and one of the other instructors, who is Justin Calvino, is old school guy like me, is teaching cultivation forever. We're going to be changing my garden center in Northern California into the Organic Greenhouse Institute, where you come in and we teach you everything about regenerative type cultivation. So you get your hands in the soil. You know, you'll be eating King Kashi compost with me for breakfast with eggs.
Because we're running out of good soil, aren't we? We're running out of good soil.
Well, I mean, it is. It's to jump in that real quick. It's very difficult to find good soil. Systemic, compostable. You know, doing your own compost is always the best. It's very difficult because people don't have it, and then trying to learn that. So it's very difficult. I have my big fight is with all the compost. My competitors in the industry. We won't name names like Fox Farm. But, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it because Willie owns Fox Farm. He's a good friend of mine as well. But just on the average, it's okay because he produces a product and gets people, and it's not a bad product. But the compost that is sourced through all these compost providers and these bag providers that you buy all over the world is made by the compost in it is made by municipal compost dump sites, you know, like in San Francisco, for instance. Most of the compost that's made for a lot of the compost providers and the big agricultural people, the big vineyards and Napa Valley and all that, their compost is crazy. It's certified organic from Omri, which is a fucking joke. And that compost is coming from
city garbage,
the Marin plant, and the other side of Salinas, or not Salinas, but yeah, anyways, outside the Bay Area there. And so they just, I mean, I can go on and deep, but that's just one part of it. So what do you think a street sweeper picks up in San Francisco?
That's what I mean. We're basically getting garbage fucking compost, man.
Yeah, I mean, the recycle program is great. It just sucks. So we got, you know, a street sweeper might pick up, definitely in San Francisco, a lot of human feces, a lot of oil, a lot of radiator fluid, a lot of leaves, some dirt, you know, paint, who knows, probably syringes, all kinds of stuff. So that they dump in the compost pile, and then it's composted down. Well, all those heavy known toxins and chemicals, they don't go anywhere. They just condense.
They're still
right?
sitting
They condense, and so and then now all of a sudden you a guy, you know, like me, not me, but a compost guy is buying this stuff and bringing and selling it to vineyards and other farms, or going to a 420 mix, a compost place, and they're mixing it all in, and then they're selling it across the world in bags, or to, you know, you're taking a load of it to your beautiful farm somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're contaminating your whole fucking farm, and people don't talk about this. But it's organic because Omri says so. Right? It's a fucking joke. So the education isn't there. The money's there, man. The dump people are making shit tons of money because you're paying them outrageous pricing to take it from you, and then they're selling it back to you. It's fucking so funny, man. So
well, and
funny.
I feel like it's just there's so much fucking money in this industry. I mean, let's take advantage of it, right? Let's take our cut. That's what a lot of these companies think, right? And we're all so fucking new that we don't know any better, man. We see our homeboy using it. He's getting great flour. He's getting high off it. We're gonna try the same thing, and it's a fucking weird culture, man, that we're in.
And then you guys got a lot of farmland up where you're at, and even across the Midwest and East Coast, all the farmland, all that stuff's eradicated or just saturated with herbicides and a lot of toxics, right? A lot of toxics. So anything that's growing in that soil is pulled up systemically into whatever plant that is, and then the leftovers are taken to the compost facility and they're mixing it up and sending it back to you. And do you think any of those compost facilities ever talk about testing?
Yeah, it's fucked.
Now they're talking about heavy metal testing because they're forced to, but they aren't going to test for anything else. They never sell anything.
It's literally like taking a shit. It would be like me taking a shit in a strainer and then pouring my water through that strainer and drinking it. It's exactly what it's like. It's fucking disgusting, and I didn't think about it that way.
Even like that, there was, you know, some soil providers use human feces out of the sewage plants. They use it, and they claim it's good, it's healthy, and they're using it on big ag. So fucking disgusting, man.
Yeah, man, it's messed up, guys. We got to check out the Soil King. You can head over to thesoilking.com. You can find him on Instagram, The Soil King. You can find him everywhere, man. Him and his wife are taking over the cannabis industry. They already been doing it for years. We're lucky enough to have you on Canaflix, man. Thanks for coming on the show, brother. I appreciate it, Pat.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, man. For everybody out there, reach out if you have questions. You know, I'm not always right. I just do my best. I'm a humble man. Everything given to me that I'm giving to you is freely given to me, and it's going to be freely given to you. That's how it works. That's
100%,
reciprocal,
man. And I'm giving it out free too, guys. And speaking of that, 15% discount off Canaflix. I forgot to talk about that because it's been a great conversation, man. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Anytime.
Awesome, man. Take care, buddy.
Amy would love to come on too and talk about it.
We're going to get Amy on, and we're going to talk about the mental side of things, 100%. You let Amy know that Heather will be reaching out. You guys can look forward to Amy coming on here in the chat, guys. That's it for me.
How many people are in the chat, real quick?
I don't know how many are in there, but there's typically, we get about 500 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good show, man. It's starting to grow, so keep sharing it. And if you got any buddies or anybody on your side of the community that want to come on and chat, we're just looking at telling stories, man, and spreading the love of this plant, man. So I appreciate your time. Let's go. That's it for me, guys. That's it for Canaflix. See you later.